Hey, it's Friday. It's TGIF Doc Talk with Dr. Go.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Doc Talk, where we talk about aging, health, and everything in between. Today, we'll be diving into a very interesting and very commonly asked question. What are the elderly care options in Malaysia for families? And this topic will be a comprehensive guide for family members who want to know what are the options available for senior care. Now, as we all know, Malaysia is an aging nation. As life expectancy increases, when healthcare around us gets better and better, people live much longer. And we currently face the issue of when an elderly person starts to grow old, what would be the best option for care for these individuals? Elderly care is not a single service, it's actually a spectrum of care which ranges from various options, from independent living with family support to assisted living to skilled nursing care. Today's podcast basically will run through all of the available options in Malaysia and help you all to decide what is most appropriate for the elderly person and how family members can decide. In Malaysia, we are very different from a lot of other developed countries whereby we have a very strong filial piety mindset within our culture where it is expected of a younger generation to take care of the older generation. And another interesting point to note is that in Malaysia, we are very blessed to be located in a region where we are able to actually source for help. We're talking about domestic helpers at a very affordable rate compared to many other developed nations. And as such, one of the major and most prominent care modalities within the Malaysian context is called aging at home with family or caregiver support. Now, aging at home actually, in my personal opinion, is actually the best form of care where the senior continues to live either on their own or with their family members with the support of domestic helpers or hired caregivers. This aging at home concept basically includes somebody to help them with their daily activities, with their medication, with meal preparation, and also helps them to go around or even whether it's shopping or to the cinema or even to church, and also accompanies them for medical appointments. This is actually the most common condition for aging in Malaysia, and it usually works best for seniors who are medically stable, have a relatively good mobility, maybe they're able to walk with a walker or a tongkat, and have some degree of limitations. They might be walking a little bit slower, but generally they can still be quite independent in many ways. And they have a very reliable day-to-day support. So this is usually individuals where their children or their partner are still able to help them in some ways. They might have children who have a 9 to 5 job and comes back in the evening, have dinner with them and can help to supervise the carer. And as health need increases, this kind of aging at home concept can be physically and emotionally demanding for family members. So without professional oversight, some degree of complex medical needs may not be attended to. So to give you an example, if an elderly person starts to develop very bad dementia and the family members do not know what to do, or the caregiver at home also feels very stressed out and very burned out, and this is where the family members might start to consider other options available. But nonetheless, aging at home remains the number one and most commonly used modality for aged care within Malaysia. The second care modality that we want to talk about is senior daycare centers. And senior daycare centers is something which is relatively new, which is what we are actually actively doing, where the senior goes to a daycare, or we prefer to call it enrichment centers, during the daytime when their children are working and the senior returns home in the evening. Now, why is this care modality useful and why is it important? Is because a senior daycare or a senior enrichment center usually includes supervised activities and exercises. So you have an individual conducting certain exercises to build their upper body, their lower body strength, their core strength. It also provides a lot of cognitive stimulation where they do many activities which stimulates their memory, stimulates their reasoning, and it actually helps to somewhat help with their cognitive state rather than just facing their domestic helper or the four walls at home, just watching TV. You're not really fully utilizing your cognitive function, and with time, the brain will slowly degenerate. Whereas if you're constantly being stimulated cognitively, you're actually helping to actually delay the progression of your deteriorating brain. And also, thirdly, it actually helps a lot with the social interactions. So one of the major issues of aging at home is that you do not make new friends. You're always seeing the same helper and family members, and sometimes it might become like a very toxic situation. So being in a daycare, you get to not only have activities, you are stimulated mentally, and also you make new friends and have more social interaction. And also in the senior daycare, very often they also have very good meals and ensure proper hydration, and also some very basic health monitoring. When do we actually decide to send to a senior daycare? So this is typically for family members where they feel that their parents are starting to feel very lonely or very isolated. They start to develop anxiety when they start to go to public. They go mix around with people. They feel afraid, or they just feel like, oh no, it's too much of a hassle. Or even for seniors who are starting to have a little bit more early dementia, or rather seniors who are mobile but need more higher degree of supervision. So for example, if they are alone at home with a domestic helper, when the domestic helper is doing some work like cleaning or cooking, and this elderly person might not be supervised, and they might have fall, and it might not be picked up soon enough. It might be a few hours, or maybe half an hour or 45 minutes, and sometimes it might be a bit delayed. So, but all in all, within the context of this care modality, I believe the major reason to send to a daycare is to avoid social isolation, and also more support and mental stimulation for the elderly, and also to a certain degree provide some relief to the caregiver. The third care modality for seniors is called assisted living, which is the large majority of care centers in Malaysia. While assisted living provides residential care with daily assistance, but typically without intensive medical intervention. Assisted living within Malaysia, they are typically licensed by the Ministry of Social Welfare, and the services often include help with bathing, dressing, grooming, medication reminders, meals and housekeeping, and in a senior-friendly environment. And it's more safer for seniors who are no longer able to live alone or with a helper at home. Sometimes this person might be too heavy, or might be bedridden, or might have some needs which require more than one individual to care for them. And these people typically also might have 24-hour care needs where one individual is not sufficient to care for them. You might need a team to care for them. So things like maybe this person might require some support in terms of diaper changing in the middle of the night, or this person might require some body repositioning every few hours. So having one domestic helper alone, it's not possible. They will experience burnout, and sooner or later the whole family also will experience a certain degree of burnout. And the final care modality for aging is called skilled nursing. In Malay, it's called Pusat Jagaan Kejururawatan, and this type of center is typically licensed under Ministry of Health. Most people do not know that skilled nursing facilities are actually quite rare in Malaysia. There's only like 3 to 4 every state. The whole of Malaysia, there's probably only about 20 or so. And these skilled nursing facilities actually have very, very strict requirements in terms of their manpower, their care ratio, the structure of the building. And they typically deal with seniors who have much, much higher medical care needs. So it could be seniors with wound or pressure sores, seniors who need tube feeding or catheter care. They might have very advanced dementia, very complex medical needs. Usually continuous monitoring is required. And this level of care usually is already nearing the end. So it's near the terminal stages. And this kind of care usually prioritizes medical safety and comfort care, and is especially for seniors with more advanced conditions. These kind of facilities, their charges are much higher, usually somewhere around 6,000 to 8,000 per month. And the reason is because they need to hire nurses on every shift. And that's one of the major differentiating factors of a skilled nursing facility compared to an assisted living facility. Today, I think we've probably have covered all of the major care modalities. If any of the audience are interested, in the next few podcasts, we might talk about how do we actually choose the right elderly care options, or we can even talk about, budget discussions about how much does it cost. We can also talk about when is skilled nursing care necessary, or we can also talk about how do we actually combine different care options. So just feel free to leave a message, and if you would like to discuss about something, and I'll be happy to talk about it. And until next time, thank you.
Click the share button to share this episode to a friend or a caregiver and hit follow to keep up with our latest episodes. Thank you.